May 4th meeting of the TTAC committee to order. Welcome to everybody in person and also online. It's great to be able to see the faces in person again. Try out this hybrid method for this meeting. I will go ahead and turn it over to James for a roll call.
Good morning. Ty Adley here. David Armstrong here. Tara Boyles. Ryan Klussman. Josh Corwin here. Mike Daigle. Ryan Fellows. Amy Hill.
Here.
Bill Holder.
Here.
Chris Jamrose. Natasha Coughlin.
Here.
Sky Meadows. Jessica Miller. Good morning. Steve Moriarty. Charles McKenzie.
Here.
Jason Peters.
Here.
Derek Spear. Sean Cerisi.
Here.
Justin Taylor. And Brent Warren here. The quorum of members present.
Great, thank you. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the April 6th meeting. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I had this one.
David Armstrong, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Thank you. We will move into the reports of the secretary and April administrative modifications.
Yeah, in your packet is the April administrative modifications. Administrative modifications are items that this committee and policy board have given staff authority to make changes on between meetings. These are usually minor corrections, updates, the various rules and procedures. You can kind of see some definitions at the end of the packet. All of those are posted online for public consumption, as well as provided to our committees and boards for their review. It's presented as an informational item only and does not need a approval. Other than that, I have no further secretaries.
Thank you. Any old business?
There's no whole business today.
All right, we can move right into new business.
Great, good morning, everyone. Great to be back in person. So today's amendments to our transportation plan fall under Transportation Resolution 13-22. So remember at last month's TTAC meeting, I walked through sort of NDOT's roll call for projects and the projects that receive funding in our region. So today, for the first 6 items, we'll be adding these projects into our tip. Please note that for these projects, construction is programmed for fiscal year 2027, which falls outside of our tip. So today we'll just be adding in P and so I'm going to do these pretty quickly. So we first have item A. This is Bristol Avenue from Brown Street to Powell Drive in the town of Sudbury. This is a pavement replacement. Next, we have item B. This is Bridge 265 on County Road 16, Little Elkhart River, the town of Middlebury. This is a bridge replacement. Next, we have item C, the walking trail from First Street to Walking Lake Park in the town of Middlebury. It's a bike/pedestrian facility. Next, we have item D. This is Bridge 123 on Copperton Road, over Wayland Ditch in Winona Lake. And this is a bridge replacement. And then we have item E, Bridge 231, carrying Center Street over Army Ditch in Freeman, Commercial County. This is a bridge replacement. And then finally, we have item F, Bridge 29, carrying Walnut Road over the Kankakee River in St. Joseph County. This is also a bridge replacement. And then moving on, we have item G. So this is a sidewalk project on Sheridan Street, East Clark Street, and Fort Wayne Street in Warsaw. So as we mentioned at this meeting, so many are aware of, we've had several lettings between the months of January and April. Very few of those have been awardable. For projects to be awardable, we have to receive 4 bids for the period of 15% of the cost estimates. So this project is another example of an awardable project. It went to letting in April, but only received 1 bid, and that bid was double the engineer estimate. So this project is going to be moving to a July meeting. So with this, we're moving construction funding from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 23. An increase in federal funds by $9,592,000. And then next, item 8. This is the County Road 17 multi-use map from US 33 to County Road 45 in Elbert County. And NDOT takes prefer that bridges have their own designators within projects. So we are removing the pedestrian bridge from this project and decreasing federal funding by around $1.1 million. And then we have item I, which is the pedestrian bridge. So we're taking the funding that we removed to the top and adding it to the fed number and adding this project to the
Real quick, Derek, I saw that you had your hand raised. Do you have a question about one of the items?
And then finally, item J. So moving from locally initiated projects to NDOT initiated projects. This is at US 6 from State Road 106 to Shawnee Drive, so Freeman to Napoli. And this is a shoulder rehabilitation, and we are adding in PE, right-of-way, and construction. Are there any questions on the items included in Transportation Resolution 22?
Just to note here on all these items, you may see them again. What I mean by that is we're in a weird period right now where the state is supposed to have already had a state transportation improvement plan that would have been approved last year. Due to some challenges with the process and document, the state experienced some significant delays on the state. And so they're now rounding the corner of that being submitted to federal highway. I think it was submitted last week. So that statewide transportation improvement program is currently under review, and that would be for fiscal years 22 to 26. 22 to 26. So we're kind of in this gray zone in between steps. They have the 20 to 24 and now the 22 to 26. And so we're passing this resolution because our TIP has been done for over a year, but we've been managing kind of 2 of them and concurrent. While we try to help this state out with the delays and challenges that they've experienced. When that STIP finally gets approved, hopefully, when it gets approved, we may have to go back and do some cleanup to make sure that whatever their list was when they submitted it, because I think their list will be current to March of our list. So there will have to be some reconciliation. So we might have to come back and ask to kind of redo some things or reprocess them or reaffirm them because we're in this gray zone. We may not have to, we'll talk through that with you as we get closer to that. But we like to proceed with business as usual and move things forward. But we might bump up to some challenges with the STIP. So if you feel a deja vu in the next month or two, it probably will be because of rectifying everything with the STIP.
Questions? Not, I would ask for your endorsement of Transportation Resolution 13-22.
Resolution.
Do we have a second? All those in favor of endorsing resolution 13-22, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
not, resolution 13-22 is endorsed, and we can head right into the staff updates.
Okay, the first update I have for you today is in regards to the community housing action grant. So you'll remember throughout the month of January, staff is looking to release for applying for NDOT's community housing action grant. And just a reminder, this grant provides funding for the road and bridge restoration projects, as well as specific ADA sidewalk and so NDOT recently announced awards in which 14 MACOG communities received funding. And this equates to an $8.7 million investment in the region. Pretty exciting. And NDOT will be accepting a second round of applications in July. So if you have any questions about the process, required documentation, any projects, please feel free to reach out. Our staff will also be getting a schedule together for consider appropriating this summer. So if there's really loans or being together in asset management plan in the year to be on the next year, please also let me know. And then my second update, we have a call for projects year season coming in June. So every year our region is allocated funding from NDOT and federal funding. So normally it's a little over $8 million for our South Bend urban area and around $4.8 million for our Ocean area. And these amounts are even greater now that we have the IDRA funding and some funding. So we're looking to program more projects and get our budget that for as far out as possibly this year in 2028. Just real quick, eligible applicants, local governments, transit agencies, regional transportation authorities. Funding will be available for new projects as well as additional funding. Eligible projects include highways, bridges, intersections, bike and ped infrastructure, infrastructure for public transportation or alternative vehicles, as well as a wide range of transportation planning activities. This is an 80-20 match, and I've kind of outlined a rough schedule here. So we're hoping that beginning of June, we'll have applications to send out, we available online, and then an application to go over in July. Throughout the month of July, September, staff will review and evaluate the budgets that were submitted. And then in September, we'll be able to recommend new projects and additional funding requests to TTAC here and policy board. And then in the October timeframe, staff will meet with companies to discuss projects and work on getting everything programmed and detailed. So just in short, we have lots of money that we want to spend in our region. Applications for that is to be open soon. So start thinking about it, and if you have any questions or want to talk through the projects, please feel free to reach out. And then just the last update on the slide work, but we do have two lettings tomorrow. We have Building out here in Ocean, and then Home Line Trail Phase 2, both of these are events, but they are our last lettings of this fiscal year, so we figured to support some favorable bids on those. That is all. Thank you. I wanted to as you all know, that the third round of next level trails was announced a few weeks ago. So in total, there were I believe 38 projects that were awarded across the state. One of those was from our region, the Middlebury, was awarded funding for the River Mill Trail. So this connection is about 3/4 of a mile, and it connects two parks in Middlebury as well as a grocery store into Vine. And so they were awarded, I think, about $700,000 in federal funding. So we're looking forward to seeing that project get built. As always, it's never too early, I guess, to think about the next round. I don't believe that they've announced any dates in particular, but if you have a project in mind that you're wanting to seek funding for, please reach out to Dustin so we can kind of start that process as soon as possible. In addition to Next Level Trails funding, Indiana Trails funding will be accepting applications in August. So that's a good opportunity to find this on the trail.
Hello, everyone. So yes, our next staff update is regarding the Section 5310 call for projects for the South Bend UZA. So as you all know, Transpo has been the leading entity with assistance from MACOG to administer the Section 5310 call for projects for the South Bend UZA. But however, at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, discussion with MACOG and Transpo took place, and it was decided that MACOG would now be the designated recipient of Section 5310 funds and take over the administration of the call for projects for the South Bend UZA. So since then, MACOG staff has been working to put together a capital call for projects for securing of vehicles, which we are looking to have that take place in July of this year. And so again, that will be for all eligible recipients of Section 5310 funds. So that includes private non-for-profit organizations and authorized units of local governments within Indiana. For this call, we will be utilizing fiscal 19 and fiscal 20 Section 5310 funds from the South Bend UZA. So that's about around $545,000 that we will have to use for this call. And again, we are just working on putting the final touches on the application at this time, and we'll be distributing information to the public soon thereafter. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that.
And so one of our last updates, and it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to provide you with information. So for our grant and funding section, the Department of Transportation kind of released a preliminary upcoming notice of funding opportunities related to the new infrastructure law and some of the discretionary grants that will be coming out. So I just wanted to provide you a snapshot of when they think that these notice of funding opportunities will be coming out. This is kind of a summary, so not all of them. But the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program, they just had several webinars this week. So if you're interested, I'm sure those will be posted online, and we'll be watching them as well. And in addition, I know Allie mentioned the Railroad Crossing Elimination Program, said it was coming this spring. It looks like that notice of funding will be coming out in June. So just wanted to let you all know that those are posted on the Department of Transportation's website, just for some heads up in terms of what we're going to do. And then a quick update for our regional freight mobility plan. We do have a steering committee meeting planned for May 18th in Napanee. I don't believe those have been sent out, but we'll be going out this week. So thanks for letting us use the city hall meeting. This meeting will be a hybrid version, so both online as well as in person.
Right. The next item that I want to make folks aware of is the Connect Transit Plan. Throughout kind of the summer period, we'll be getting into more of a public engagement for the Connect Transit Plan. This is a plan that is being done jointly with MACOG and Transpo to focus on understanding how the transit systems work, where there are missed opportunities, where there are opportunities in the future to address what type of public transit we would like to have in the region, essentially. And so there are some scenarios that are going to be created. And what I want to say is if you see these when we get closer to summer, these are not proposals. That's really important. They are not a proposal of this is what we are proposing to do. They are meant as concepts. And I know that's a really nuanced point. What I mean there is that their purpose is to illustrate if we leaned in one policy direction or another policy direction. Those two policy directions are if we lean toward really focusing 100% or maybe 80% on just ridership, or in the reverse kind of proposal, if we focus maybe 80% on covering the region with public transit, making sure that we could get to all destinations, but because we're getting to all destinations, we might not be able to get to them quickly, whereas in the other one, we're maybe going to less places, but we go there more quickly. They are conceptual, they are concepts. Ask the public, ask and have us think of what direction do we want to move in. Now that doesn't mean that it has to be that 80% mix of ridership, 80% coverage. But once we get a feel from all of those public engagement sessions this summer, we'll then come back with proposals of, okay, well, based on all of the things we heard a 60-40 mix or a 70-30 mix of one policy or another, right? And that will inform a potential draft concept or draft proposals that we'll be able to get to the public. So as we move this summer towards more public engagement around this plan, start hearing from folks, oh my goodness, did you see all the places that they're proposing to go? Or, oh my goodness, did you see all the places that they're proposing to cut service to? They're not proposals, they're strictly concepts to kind of create a discussion around policy decisions. So we're really excited to have those conversations with folks, and what we would ask is that you have any major upcoming events in South Bend, Mishawaka, Elkhart, Goshen, Elkhart County, St. Joe County, and you would think that it might be beneficial that we might be able to meet people there and talk about this plan and these, overall policy concepts. Please let us know. We'd love to take you up on those opportunities to really get out there and meet people where they are. So it's kind of all in here. I don't know if you have.
No, I think you covered it.
All right. In other plans, programs, updates, you heard from Caitlin and Allie that because of IJA, there's going to be increased federal funds in our traditional programs, right? So as Allie mentioned, each year we get about $12 million for the urban areas that we'll invest. With the new infrastructure law, IJA, will probably be upwards of about $16 million a year. So that is why we are accelerating our call for projects. Normally, you would see that call for projects happen in the fall. But we want to have it a little earlier this year. So that way we give ourselves the maximum amount of flexibility where if we can get some PEs done in 2023, that we still might be able to do that. Additionally, something that will be different with this call that you haven't necessarily seen before. You've seen it before, but maybe not formalized. We have seen some success historically with helping communities on planning and environmental linkages or feasibility studies, some essential studies to get some projects really moving forward, where they're stuck in a very draft concept, where they're maybe not competitive, because they're stuck in this draft concept where there's a lot of alternatives, and so it's not clear on how maybe to move forward with a potential project. So what we are going to do in this call is we're not necessarily setting money aside and saying $200,000 a year will be devoted towards, but we are going to say we would like to see if you have high priority studies that would result in potential federal projects, that we will consider funding those. Okay? We have done this historically in, I don't know, 2016. Feels forever ago, but I think it was around that time frame. We helped Elkhart County out with a grade separation study that ended up resulting in their local tracks project. Just a few months ago, this committee, as well as the policy board, approved 2 studies, one in the Napanee area, and then one in North Liberty. The one in North Liberty around trails, one in Napanee around different roads on 52 and 101. And so we are open to that. We're not going to probably fund $500,000, $1 million worth of studies every year. It's not probably the business that we're going to get into, because every dollar that we're putting into a study theoretically comes out of the project, right? But we do see the potential where that could be beneficial for project development, and so we will consider that in this call. They will still be ranked and prioritized and scored. But it is one of those things that we traditionally have not asked for, those kind of technical assistance components. But we'd like to formalize that and make that maybe a more regular part of the routine call for projects. If you take us up on it, cool. If you don't, it's fine as well, if that's just more money for projects. But we want to make sure that you're aware of that. Additionally, because of IJA, there are a ton of new programs. As Caitlin mentioned, you can see that calendar of all of the new programs that are going to be rolling out. We're going to try and stay informed as best as we can on all of those programs. If you need any, you can see that kind of short list calendar there of new programs. There are going to be a ton of new discretionary programs. That is a big feature of IJA, is that there are a number of new discretionary grant programs. Whether you like it or not, it just is. And so kind of paying attention to what all those programs are, we will try to provide you with updates as they roll out. But a few of the things that we have been doing, some of the either, not necessarily these discretionary programs, but new funding programs that are, say, formula-based that the state receives, does require the state to do some new plans on how they might invest funds and how they will approach things. So a few things that we've been involved in recently or will be involved in kind of keeping a pulse on. The state of Indiana recently, I think it was due on April 29th, had an RFI for their request for information for their electric vehicle kind of plan. There's a new electric vehicle program that is part of IJA, and there are some dedicated funds to that, as well as then some additional flexibilities of how some of our programs, whether it's the carbon program or CMAC or those kind of other programs, might be able to fund electric vehicle infrastructure. We responded to that RFI with a number of different comments as the state looks to have that plan, I think, finalized and developed in August, if the state. So we are kind of keeping an eye on that. A plan that's been around for a while and always gets the occasional updates through my Kalawati's group, down in central office. Mike is always great about coordinating with the NPOs, but is the state highway safety plan or the strategic highway safety plan, the SHSP. We've been consulted on that a number of times as they move that forward, as well as their rail grade crossing plan as well that they are working on. And then today we get to participate in the state aviation plan. So if you have anything related to your municipal airports or points of emphasis related to the state aviation plan, that's in development right now. I believe Kimley Horn is working on that with the state. We'll be participating in an informational session this afternoon. And then the other one that I think the steering committee or feedback committee is for the state freight plan. That's in development right now and expected to be finished later this year. Those are a few. There are a number of other things as each of these programs roll out. Many of them need new plans, procedures, and updates. For example, there's a new carbon program, which for those in the urban area, it feels very familiar to CMAC, the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality. It's around emissions and emissions reduction. But it doesn't necessarily have to be in a non-attainment or maintenance area like in CMAC. And so there's just going to be a lot of learning. And so I know you might feel overwhelmed at times of the various new programs that are going to be out there. But if you have any questions, contact us, contact our staff. I'm sure we can direct you in the right direction. If you're hearing about new programs or things that you should pursue or not pursue, if you need help with that, please feel free to reach out to us. Is essentially my long-winded way of saying, like, we're here to help and help you navigate these. And so if you do have any questions about those programs as they roll out, please feel free to get in contact with our office. That, I don't think I have any other staff updates.
Great. Thank you. We'll move on to privilege of the floor. Any questions or comments from members of the committee?
On the community crossings, we've had some changes in personnel in other districts. So some of our central office people are trying to cover that. So the contracts right now are not necessarily going out. Do not panic. They will be coming out. You may bid your projects at any time. They do need to be bid within 4 months of the date of the letter you received. With that email, we did request responses from everybody, whether or not it's confirming the DocuSign sign-up. Who the signer may be, if there's been a change, or if there's no ordinance or type of thing, all the information for an ordinance. Somebody does need to respond on that before we're going to request a contract. And so I've received several responses, but I also have several where I have not received a response, even yes or no, as to who is the signer. That's it for that community process.
So each community that was awarded in this last call should have received an email.
Yeah, email and the letter.
Okay.
And then there's a partial award. You verify which roads were on that.
And then you're waiting for essentially their response if they haven't responded.
Yeah. If we've gotten a response, we send it down to contracts, but like I said, right now, they're trying to cover some other district work, so some of that is behind.
Now, David, I've asked this before, but some folks might be curious about this. we've seen, and I know the state's seen, and I know every LPA has seen where project pricing since January has just gone haywire at best. Projects that are bidding now at 170% of the original estimate. In community crossings, if they had put all their documentation together in December to submit in January, and now they're doing those bids within that 4-month time frame, and their purchasing power, say, has fallen in half. How does that work where you were awarded $1 million and you said you were going to do 7 roads, but now because of bidding and what you can buy based on bids, now you can, for $1 million, only do 5 of those roads?
Each of those projects will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. If your bids do come in that extreme high, send an email to the local program director. Try to, what the changes are, what the changes you're proposing. If you can afford, okay, say, we'll go with yours, I have, again, 7 or 10 roads, I can now afford 5, or, 5, 50-50, we'll say. Okay, well, can you afford 6 or 7 of those roads that maybe in your end up with slightly less than 50?
Sure.
For the 75 place. Let us know what you're considering, and we will evaluate that on a state by project basis. Obviously, the better estimates that were shown to us. If we look at that, and from your initial estimate, you had 5 items, and your bid one had 50 items.
Yep.
And
Great.
that would be one of the considerations.
I just wanted to ask, because
I
bidding
can't
on
say that. I can't say we're going to say yes.
Yep.
Or not. Or we won't come back with a counter proposal.
But the more prepared that folks are in providing the documentation as well as then the potential remediation, essentially, the state of
Yeah, and also, don't wait till the last minute for that first bid. Don't wait till, 3.5 months from the date of that letter for your first bid, because you're not going to have time to rebid.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Now we'll move on to public comment.
I'm not aware of any public comment. Nothing. There's any public comment in person. We didn't receive anything in advance via email, and there's nothing online. So I don't believe we have any.
Thank you. With no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn today's meeting. Or just
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Fair enough.